Here are the usual questions. Who are you when you're not performing? Who are you when the meeting ends, the applause fades, and the mask finally slips? Have you ever caught yourself acting like the person others expect you to be, even when that person doesn't feel like you anymore? Stay with me until the end of this episode, because today we are diving into one of the most fascinating paradoxes of human being, the mask. The face we show the world. This is the story of the persona, the archetype of adaptation, survival, and illusion. We will explore how it protects us, how it imprisons us, and how leaders can learn to dance with it consciously. And at the end, I will share the H2H experiment of the week, as usual, a reflection practice that can help you take off your mask, or at least remember who's underneath it. All right, let's start talking a little bit about the persona. Carl Jung described the persona as the social face we wear, the identity we create to meet the expectations of the world around us. The word persona originally means mask. In ancient Greek, theater. But it wasn't just for disguise. It had holes around the mouth to protect the actor's voice. So from the very beginning, the mask was not meant to hide. It was meant to help us speak louder. And that's the paradox of the persona. It allows us to express ourselves, and at the same time, it limits what we can say. From the moment we are born, we start shaping our masks. We learn which versions of ourselves get praised, which gets punished, which gets love, and which gets silenced. And slowly, piece by piece, we build a character we can safely present to the world. In leadership, this mask becomes part of the job description. You're expected to be composed, confident, articulate, the one who knows. You are rewarded for strength, not for sensitivity, decisiveness, not doubt. And somewhere along the way, you start to believe the performance. But here's the danger. When the persona becomes your identity, you stop being a person and you become just the projection. Now, let's not demonize the mask, okay? We need it. It's part of how we function as social beings. It's a natural part of being human. Jung said that the persona is essential for surviving in society. Without it, we'd be the raw emotion, exposed and misunderstood, like walking into a boardroom naked. The mask helps us to adapt, communicate, and belong. It's what lets a surgeon stay calm during an operation, or a leader stay composed during a crisis. But here's the catch. What begins as protection easily becomes a prison. Over time, the mask hardens. It stops being something you use and becomes something you are. You start to identify with your title, your reputation, your performance, and you forget that the person underneath still exists, vulnerable, human, imperfect, and real. That's when the soul starts to whisper. It says, "This is not me anymore." And if you ignore that whisper for too long, it turns into a scream, burnout, emptiness, or that quiet feeling that even your success doesn't feel like it's yours. But let's be honest, leadership today is a theater. And we've all been cast in a play without an audition. You're expected to perform multiple roles at once. The visionary, the strategist, the coach, the diplomat, the problem solver, the strong one, the one that never breaks. And you're expected to do this flawlessly, every day, without breaking character. But behind the curtain, something else is happening. The leader who appears composed on the outside is often exhausted inside. The confident voice hides a trembling uncertainty. The smile in the meeting room hides a sign in the car ride home. We've created a culture that celebrates performance and punishes authenticity. We reward charisma but avoid vulnerability. How wild is that? We value the mask more than the face. We value the projection more than the reality. And in doing so, we've built organizations full of masks talking to other masks, meeting full of postures instead of presence. The result? People just feel disconnected. Leaders feel lonely. And authenticity becomes a brand instead of a truth. Jung warned that identifying completely with the persona leads to spiritual starvation. He wrote, "The persona is what one is in public, but when you identify with it, you become shallow and the soul goes hungry." That hunger often shows up as a craving for meaning, the feeling that something's missing, even when life looks perfect. Leaders chase titles, recognition, or money trying to fill that void. But meaning doesn't live in applause, it lives in authenticity. Viktor Frankl talked a lot about the importance of meaning in his book, Men Searching for Meaning, which is very deep, and I would recommend everyone to read it. And that's why some of the most accomplished people reach a point That's why some of the most accomplished people reach a point where they say, I don't know who I am anymore. It's not depression, it's the soul calling them home. And here's another tricky part. Everything the persona hides doesn't disappear. It becomes the shadow. We talked about the shadow in the last episode. The shadow is made of all the parts of you that didn't fit the role. The anger, fear, jealousy, insecurity, desire, even tenderness. Every time you suppress one of those, it sinks deeper. And eventually it starts leaking out in ways you don't even expect and very often are not even aware. In frustration, arrogance, emotional distance, even unethical behavior. The higher you rise, the darker your unexamined shadow becomes. Jung said that the only way to become whole is to integrate the shadow, not to reject it. To look at the parts you hide and say, you belong here too. You're also part of me. Because the moment you acknowledge your shadow, it stops controlling you. And when it stops controlling you, your leadership becomes real. You become real. Every mask is a mirror. It reflects what the world wants to see. But leadership requires a different kind of mirror, the kind that reflects truth. This is where self-awareness becomes the highest form of intelligence. The conscious leader knows when they're speaking from the mask and when they're speaking from the self. They can sense the shift, the tightening of tone, the shallowness of language, the distance between what's said and what's felt. You can really feel it inside. They don't throw away the mask. They learn to use it with awareness. Because the goal is not to destroy the persona, it's to master it, to wear it when needed, and take it off when the moment calls for truth. There's a quiet revolution happening in leadership. It's not about strategies or structures, it's about soul. We're seeing a new kind of leader emerge, one who leads with consciousness instead of control, authenticity instead of image. These leaders are not afraid to say, I don't know. They don't lead from titles. They don't lead from ego. They lead from connection. They don't perform empathy. They feel it. They have nothing to prove because they are no longer performing. They found the freedom that comes from alignment, where what you think, feel, say, and do are all in perfect harmony, like a symphony. And that's not just leadership, that's liberation. And this week, we are going to do an interesting exercise. I call it the mirror and the mask. So this week's practice in the H2H experiment is very simple but profound. Step 1. Face the mask. Stand in front of a mirror before your day begins. Look at yourself not as an image, but as an actor preparing for a role. And ask yourself, who am I about to play today? Which parts of me will I show and which will I hide? Notice the emotions that come up. There's no right or wrong, just awareness. But you need to be present for this exercise to work. Step 2. Name the fear. Ask yourself, what am I afraid they'll see if I drop the act? This is where you meet a shadow, the raw material of your authenticity. Be true to yourself, but also be kind to yourself in this moment, because you might see something that you didn't expect. Step 3, reclaim the self. Take 3 slow breaths and repeat silently. I'm not my role, I am the awareness behind it. Carry that awareness into the meetings, in your decisions, in your interactions, during your whole day. Use the mask when needed, but never forget the face underneath. Don't betray yourself. You'll notice that conversations start to feel more alive, connections deepen, and slowly you realize you can lead without performing. Now, as we move closer to the end, let's wrap up. The world celebrates the masks, but meaning, real meaning, comes from removing them. Leadership is not about becoming someone, it's about becoming whole. The goal is not perfection, it's presence. To know that your strength and your softness, your logic and your emotion, your shadow and your light all belong to you. It's all you. When you show up from that place, people can feel it. Because authenticity vibrates. It doesn't need to be announced, it's felt. And as Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So wear the mask when you must, but never forget who made it, because the world doesn't need you to perform. It needs your presence, it needs your humanity, it needs you. Thank you for listening to another episode of the H2H experiment. I really appreciate that you're here with me in this space. If you'd like to keep exploring, you can find my reflections on LinkedIn or in the ADCXO platform or my videos on YouTube, where we continue the conversation about what truly means to lead as a human being. And if you want to go even deeper into this journey, you can also find my books on Amazon. They are written to help you explore leadership, consciousness, and the human experience in mutual depth. They are called the HX Revolution. Until next time, stay aware, stay kind, and always stay real. Thank you once again. Goodbye.